Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. The battle to replace Obamacare continues. Republicans are hoping for another vote by the end of this week, but some GOP lawmakers say the new plan still does not go far enough. Charlene Aaron has this story.
House Republicans have been working on a health care plan to avoid losing a second attempt at repealing the Affordable Care Act. It's a plan President Trump says will lower insurance premiums and guarantee coverage for people with pre-existing conditions.
Pre-existing conditions are in the bill, and I mandated. I said it has to be.
But some moderate Republicans are worried that the bill is weaker on protections for those with pre-existing conditions. And even though conservatives were the main obstacle to passing the bill the first time around, this time it's moderates. Pennsylvania Republican Charlie Dent, a moderate, says he's still not on board.
But in my view, the health care law currently isn't working, but this alternative, this replacement piece, still has very serious flaws.
The plan is also running into other difficulties, and the Senate could easily change whatever bill the House passes. Despite all the roadblocks, some Republicans are still optimistic. They say a new plan may take time, but they're heading in the right direction.
It's a winner, and everybody will just settle down. We'll get it right.
And progress is being made on health care. So sometimes things take a little longer than we would want, but that's part of the process.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
President Trump is slated to have a phone conversation with Russian President Vladimir Putin today. That is according to a White House official. Potential issues on the agenda: Syria and the fight against ISIS. This marks the first call between the two since Russia denounced a U.S. military strike against Syria last month. South Korea says a U.S. anti-missile system based in the southeastern part of the country can defend against North Korean missiles. Tuesday, a defense ministry spokesperson said that the high terminal high altitude defense system has the capability to respond to North Korea's nuclear missile threat. This announcement comes amid controversial statements made by President Trump, who said he would be willing to meet with North Korean President Kim Jong-un under the right circumstances. A Mayday march in Portland, Oregon turned from a peaceful demonstration over deportation to violence. Most of those marching were obeying the law, but others started fires, threw rocks at businesses and at a federal building. It started to damage cars as well as other property. Officers told the peaceful protesters with family and children to leave for their safety. Police had to shut down the march, and they arrested 22 adults as well as 3 young people. The Bible is the uncontested best-selling book worldwide, with more than 5 billion copies printed. In today's digital world, many people spend more time reading Facebook posts than the Bible. To generate interest, though, some Bible believers and lovers are staging a rare international exhibit that stirs faith and reverence for the most beloved book of all time. Lucille Toulousan has more now on this story from Hong Kong.
Hong Kong St. Andrew's Church received a 200-year-old gift from Christians Ken and Barbara Larson, a rare Torah scroll. This token was given in appreciation for allowing their main sanctuary to be a venue of the inspired exhibit. The touring exhibit is a display of ancient artifacts, manuscripts, and truths about the Bible's history and its preservation. The Torah is the first 5 books of the Bible.
Moses is credited with the first Torah written. From that point until now, the scribes in Jewish life would copy the Torah and make a new one. It was meticulous. They had to make sure there were no mistakes, no errors. The Torah is foundational for our theology, for our understanding of who God is, and for the plan of redemption that He has placed for all of us.
One of the key features in the exhibit is this 500-year-old Torah scroll.
It was buried by a rabbi during the time of Hitler when Torahs were being burned. Now this sums up everything about this exhibit, that God's Word is indestructible, and being able to see it today and touch it is a miracle that empowers the Christian faith.
Former agnostic Josh McDowell tried to disprove the Bible, but he became a Christian after he discovered evidence proving its authenticity. Today, McDowell is a foremost apologist for the Christian faith. and he has written several best-selling books on biblical truths. He believes exhibits like Inspired are needed in today's technologically driven world.
With the internet and the way people live today, we've gotten away from our roots. We've gotten away from history, from tradition. And what exhibits like here at Inspired does, it gives people a sense of why they believe the Bible is true. When you see the precautions they took in copying it and everything, it builds up your faith. With millennials and younger, they're looking for something solid. They're looking for something they can put their hands on. Physical, historical evidence that the Bible is true.
Israel Consul General for Hong Kong, Sagi Carney, takes pride at how Jews contributed to the preservation and spread of the Old Testament.
You could see the evidence that there were Jews that were commuting along the Silk Road from the ancient world all the way to China, settling down in China, bringing the Bible into China.
The Inspired exhibit is set to travel to other nations in the fall, in hopes of instilling in people's hearts a deeper appreciation and understanding of the Bible and its core message of redemption. Lucille Talusan, CBN News, Hong Kong.
Boosting your overall health lies in your gut. See how a diet that nurtures your gut also nurtures your brain, and so much more. We've got the story coming up after this. The father of medicine once said, "All disease begins in the gut." More than 2,000 years later, that fact still rings true. Lori Johnson has this look at the latest medical breakthroughs, focusing on what's happening in our intestines.
Bacteria, also known as bugs or germs. We assume they're all bad, right? Not so fast. Scientists recently discovered much, if not most, of the bacteria in our body is good for us. In fact, a key to good health depends on having enough of the right kind.
We all have trillions of bacteria living in our intestines, hundreds of different species, all performing different functions. Scientists call it our gut flora.
Neurologist David Perlmutter is one of many physicians warning against disrupting this fragile ecosystem.
We all carry good and bad bugs, if you will, and it's the imbalance that seems to be the biggest trigger for our illnesses.
Dr. Vincent Pedre agrees, adding a healthy gut protects us from everything from the common cold to cancer.
So the connection between the gut and the immune system is quite significant because 80% of our immune system is located all along the boundary of the gut.
Unfortunately, when it comes to good gut bacteria, many of us are sorely lacking.
We're seeing a epidemic of disruption of the microbiome and the gut bacteria worldwide. And the reason for that is because of such widespread use and prescribing of antibiotics.
After all, antibiotics kill bacteria, bad and good.
You've got to understand that taking an antibiotic will change the complexity of your gut bacteria and the diversity of the gut bacteria for the rest of your life. Just one course of antibiotics.
Processed food can also be a culprit.
There's way too much sugar in our diet, and sugar breeds bad organisms. And when I say sugar, I'm also talking about artificial sweeteners, because they've been shown that artificial sweeteners cause a dysbiosis and promote the growth of not very favorable bacteria that can cause inflammation and disease.
We've got to welcome fat back to the table, but only the good fats, not the modified fats. So be very liberal with your use of extra virgin olive oil and coconut oil, grass-fed meat if you can find it, wild fish, nuts and seeds.
Even babies delivered by cesarean section can miss out on getting enough good bacteria.
We gain our first bacteria at the moment of birth. When we are born, we pass through the birth canal. The baby is inoculated with bacteria that are transferred from mother to baby. And those are the seeds for the gut bacteria that will last a lifetime.
So while our lifestyle choices can really do a number on our intestinal flora, the good news is we can make our gut healthy again and keep it that way with probiotics and prebiotics.
Probiotics equal good bacteria. You can find these microscopic organisms in supplements as well as in cultured and fermented foods like kimchi, sauerkraut, yogurt, kefir, and kombucha. Your good bacteria live off prebiotics. Just like good soil, they create a nurturing environment so your bacteria can thrive. You can get prebiotics in supplement form as well as in foods like asparagus, onion, leeks, garlic, and dandelion greens.
When people start increasing their prebiotic fiber, the changes in their health the changes are remarkable. Weight loss, immediate. Improvement of mood by adding prebiotic fiber to your diet. Who knew? And this is revolutionary new information.
Not only mood, Perlmutter says even serious brain disorders like ADHD, autism, even Alzheimer's can improve by increasing good bacteria because they make neurotransmitters and vitamins while reducing inflammation.
Well, I lost my dad just last year to Alzheimer's disease, so I really get it. And I want to stand up and be heard that it's great that we try to develop a cure for this disease, but we know right now as we have this discussion that it is preventable. And when we eat a diet that nurtures the gut, it will nurture the brain.
And not just the brain, scientists are now identifying specific strains of good bacteria that treat all kinds of problems, from skin rashes to the flu. That means a targeted probiotic could take the place of a prescribed drug.
I think we're just on the tip of the iceberg of learning how to harness that potential and use it for therapeutic interventions.
So if you want to boost your health, doctors say improve your gut flora. That means avoiding processed foods, even antibacterial cleansers and antibiotics when advisable. Then add good bacteria with probiotics and boost them with prebiotics, available in supplements, certain foods, or both. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Up next, a safe house for survivors of sex trafficking. We'll take you inside this unique shelter and show you how lives are being transformed. Thousands and thousands of children are sexually exploited every year in America alone. But there are only about 50 shelters to help those rescued from the criminal enterprise. On top of that, these survivors need support to recover from trauma. Heather Sells has a closer look at the problem and what's being done.
For 13 years, sex traffickers tricked, manipulated, and sold Hannah. She endured until it became clear they might kill her.
I gained to realize that the people didn't love me nor care about me. As a matter of fact, they would have traded my life to protect their own lives.
She arrived at this Christian trafficking shelter both scared and excited.
I immediately felt safe. I immediately felt like I was in a part of a family.
But Hannah is the first to admit her months of recovery have been painful.
This program hasn't been easy.
Victims of trafficking have usually experienced major and persistent trauma. It's comparable to what we know as PTSD. So because their injuries are so deep and sustained, the rehabilitation process is lengthy.
She has already been living an unstable and traumatic existence. Then you add the trauma of being trafficked, the violence, the neglect, the deprivation, the coercion, and that creates a complexity of trauma.
4 years ago, Jean Allert began the Samaritan Women, a Christian shelter for survivors of sex trafficking. She and her staff provide around-the-clock intensive care.
We're dealing with the threat, the history, her skills or lack thereof, maybe medical issues, mental health issues, and it's really the whole person and her whole life. So when people say, what are your services? Not so facetiously, we say everything.
The latest national estimates show around 50 shelters providing care for trafficking victims. Roughly 2,000 beds exist, not nearly enough for the tens of thousands who need them. Experts say money is one of the biggest obstacles.
The programs that are really doing the best job cost a lot more than the programs that may not have specialized services to survivors of trafficking.
And research is the other hurdle, hindering both fundraising and program effectiveness. An American Psychological Task Force recently found no reliable estimate of the trafficking of women and girls in the U.S. It also found that providers need systematic, high-quality research to determine what works and what does not. These challenges have taken a toll on trafficking shelters. At least 5 have permanently or temporarily closed in the last year.
There's a lot of burnout. We have a lot of people who want to help, don't know how, and then it's frustrating for them.
In just 4 years, the Samaritan Women organization has learned a great deal about what its women need. At first, it's all about making them feel safe, both physically and emotionally.
She has to know she's going to eat every day. She has to know she's not going to be violated while she's sleeping.
Then women must learn who they are. That's because traffickers usually lure young teens and literally stunt their psychological development.
Even though chronologically she's in her 20s, we're starting at 14, and we're picking up on the lessons that you learn during those stages of your life.
The final step, women must decide what's next. For many, that means working on their education. For others, career goals. Hannah loves to mow the shelter's large property with the hopes of becoming a forklift operator someday. She credits relationships in the shelter with giving her the strength to press on.
Know that they would do anything in their power to see me succeed. Knowing that, it keeps me strong.
The APA Trafficking Task Force is calling for survivor-informed research to help pave the way for women like Hannah. It also wants to explore the role of faith in the recovery process. It's an enormous challenge, but as Allert notes, providers can also build off a core resilience shown by survivors.
She's already survived through a lot. So we've gotten an individual into our care who's already proven that they have tremendous strength. So for us to treat her with complete kid gloves as if she's unable to care for herself, I think disrespects the fact that she's already demonstrated she might be stronger than you are.
Picking up the pieces of these broken lives is expensive, complicated, and emotionally draining. But providers add that doing nothing puts young souls at stake and adds long-term costs to society for those who never heal. Heather Sells, CBN News.
We cannot afford to stand by and do nothing. Glad to see work being done. Stay with us. There's more of CBN NewsWatch coming up right after this. It is time now for your Tuesday Tweetable, and I pray this message will inspire you, and I encourage you to post, tag, tweet, and share it with others. You are sometimes waiting for God to show you the next mile while He is waiting for you to take the next step that He has already revealed. Remember, the longest journey begins with one step, and sometimes that one step is all you need to see to actually get started. With that word, make this a terrific Tuesday. And that is going to wrap it for us here on CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about always at cbnnews.com. We'd love to hear what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that by first emailing newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, as well as Instagram. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. Make this a terrific Tuesday. We'll see you back here come tomorrow. Goodbye and God bless.